Hello friends, this is JB on JB's Man Cave and we are at Pigeon Point and we'll be driving to Scarborough, Tobago. This is the fourth video in a series of Tobago videos. That poster you just saw was the last one before this. We're driving in a Hyundai Creta, or Creta, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a borrowed vehicle. It's around 1:30 in the afternoon. It's a very cloudy day. It just rained a bit. We're on Pigeon Point Road heading south. And if you haven't subscribed for free, please do so. All you need to do is click the subscribe button. Nothing to pay, it is just free. We are leaving Pigeon Point Beach. We just came from the Pigeon Point facility. We weren't really in the facility, but we had just come out from one of the glass bottom boats. If you haven't seen my videos for that, make sure and look at it. It was a nice experience. This is not my first time to Tobago. I came multiple times as a child. However, this is all like brand new to me because I haven't been here in decades. So I can't say whether it's built up or not, or something looks different or not. It's all pretty new to me. As we follow this road, we will be driving through random roads looking around. It's a Sunday and that's why you may not see a lot of people as we get closer to Scarborough, which is the main center of Tobago. There's a lot of tourists around, people around going to and from the beach. But as we travel on the roads, you won't see a lot of people. You will see a few cars here and there. And because this was my more or less quote-unquote first time here after so long, I kind of stopped to get my bearings on the phone using Google Maps to trace where I am, where I could go to. Just imagine going to a place and you don't know where to go or what to do. That's what the predicament we were in. Not that we wanted somebody to give us a tour particularly, but this visit was kind of made in haste to try and see Tobago because we just couldn't get tickets at a better time. This was the only time we could actually get tickets to come to Tobago and leave on the same day. So we came in the morning and we're leaving later in the afternoon. I have videos of everything we did up until then. Now, one of the first things I noticed about Tobago when I got here, and you know, if you don't know JB on JB's Man Cave, I like to give my opinions about everything, give it the raw, not try to paint a pretty picture for everybody. That's not the purpose of it. I want to give a clear picture of what I'm seeing and give you a clear picture as though you were there with me. That's how I record my videos, without a set of cutting and editing or just focusing on me, just watching and talking. And originally the first set of videos I did, I didn't talk at all. I didn't think anybody would be interested in hearing what I had to say. And then people just started nagging and nagging that I should talk, and my later videos I began to talk. But originally I didn't intend to speak at all. Now, one of my first observations about Tobago, other than it looks a lot like Trinidad, is the roads are very good. I don't know if this is a new thing or if this is how it usually is, but I didn't encounter a set of potholes or, you know, depressions in the road or cracks or anything. The road is pretty solid. I was surprised about that. The other thing that I was impressed with was how clean the place is. I don't know if that is how it usually is. Again, this is the first time in decades I have been to Tobago, so I don't have a comparison to make. So those of you from Tobago, you can always tell me in the comments area, is this how it usually is? The roads are well paved. Granted, they could use some more markings on the road, but just having a paved road is like a super blessing. And the other thing is it normally this clean? Not a set of trash everywhere. Mind you, you will see one or two things here and there, but nowhere compared to Trinidad, where it seems like everywhere you turn there's trash. In fact, as we go closer to Scarborough and we get on the highway, you will see that the green on either side of the road is almost like it's manicured and well taken care of. I'm surprised by all of that. Now, even though it's a Sunday, you do see some people up and about, just probably not as much as you would if it was a weekday. There are still stores open and so forth. Now, I don't know if you're as old as me, but it used to be that the stores in Trinidad and Tobago would close for sure on a Sunday. You wouldn't see anything open. Very, very rare. Maybe a pharmacy for emergencies, but you wouldn't see stores. And on Thursdays, groceries or supermarkets would close in the afternoon for what would be quote unquote a siesta. Those things used to happen. I guess back in the day where things were more affordable, but that changed about a couple decades ago, where everything just started to open no matter what day it was. Even if it was holiday, even if it was Christmas Day, you would see things open. So that's how it is now. People just need to make a buck. And as you can see as we travel down this road, still nice and smooth. No sort of trash anywhere. Now, of course, I don't know if you know about Tobago, but Tobago is an island, part of two islands that make up a country called Trinidad and Tobago. I said in previous videos that having to say Trinidad and Tobago, it sounds long. That "and" in there sort of bothers me. I don't know why we couldn't just come up with a name for both islands. In other words, a name that would represent the country rather than just having Trinidad and Tobago. Not, of course, it's not important, but just my thoughts on it. A lot of people actually use the abbreviated term Trinbago to service the mentioning of both islands, but that's not an official thing. But that just shows again why there is a need for it. Anyway, so we're on Tobago. Trinidad manufactures a lot of products in an industrial scale, as well as gas, oil, ammonia, etc. So that's what Trinidad does, and Tobago is more of the tourist side. And I guess part of keeping everything neat and clean is because it counts heavily on tourists for its GDP. So besides, they're cutting the budget from basically the island of Trinidad and Tobago, the country itself. Tobago earns its own money from tourism. Not too sure how much manufacturing goes on here. If it does, you could always let me know in the comments area. Again, you can see what I'm talking about. There aren't a set of weeds and bush growing everywhere. You can see it's all clean and cut, nice and green. Probably they could use some more palm trees or coconut trees on the sides of the road. Tourists really identify with that when they think about the Caribbean. As soon as they see a coconut tree or palm tree, they think about something tropical. But still, nevertheless, nice to have it green. I think Tobago has one of the largest protected reserves, forest reserves, in the Western Hemisphere. I don't know how much of that is truly virgin and untouched. You can always let me know in the comments area. As you can see, I'm no expert on Tobago, and I never claim in my videos to be a historian or a know-it-all or anything like that. I just go off of my observation on what little I know of the area. And in driving here, I can honestly say it's not like how I would be if I was driving in Trinidad. I would be more in the know which route to take and so forth. But here I'm totally going by instinct and occasionally looking at the Google Maps. I think the mall on the left is called Lowlands Mall. As we stop by this light, I think this would be the entrance to it. Again, in mentioning that, you could see one of the things needed is more signage to clearly identify where you are and where you're going. Like that traffic light could probably have a sign pointing left, the name of the road and so forth. Simple ideas, not a big deal, but just saying. I was glad for this part of the trip, even though it was cloudy. It didn't rain, so that didn't wet my windshields or windscreens so that it would be hard to see. And by the way, I am using a GoPro camera with stabilization, so you'll notice that as I move the vehicle below, you could see it bumping, but the actual camera view is steady. And that's the great thing about the technology of today, it capture better views. However, this is not 4K, this is 2.7K, which will be about half the resolution of 4K, but fairly sharp, especially those who like to look at these things on your big screen TV. I'm sure you'll think the picture is good enough. It's not shaky, it's not blurry. I just like it. I used to use a GoPro 4 for my many videos and it did a good job, but I think it just reached its, I won't say end of life, but its service time, and I just thought I would just upgrade and start just using GoPro 10 and above. So on here we on the highway. In this direction we would be continuing, I would say, northeast, and we kind of just followed the flow of the roads, and I just like the feeling of Tobago. This is part of what I was talking about, seeing all this green as you drive by and seeing it all cut and nice. I really like that. I will be interested to know if it's always like this, or if it's the new JB was coming and decided to manicure the island. Yeah, right, I'm not that special. Tobago is, as you'll notice, a bit hilly. You may not be able to tell too much from the camera, but you kind of go up and down, up and down. It's not all flat. I'm not sure if any of the hills here could be considered mountains, but it is quite hilly. In some regard, it reminds me a bit of South Trinidad, San Fernando, and those areas. So it is quite dry in some sections, isn't it? So while I'm probably glad that there wasn't rain, probably there needs to be some rain. Some of these stops that we made while in Tobago was at the fort. Of course, we went to the glass boats. We stopped at Store Bay. We stopped at the botanical gardens, and then we made a loop. But we didn't have much time to do other things because we had to get back to our plane. But you will see all those things in separate videos. This video is just mainly the driving. dash cam point of view, if you will. And here you can see that the roads are well marked. And it's clear driving, no set of traffic. It is a Sunday. I'd also be interested to know what traffic is like on these roads. Feel free to let me know in the comments area. And speaking about comments area, some people, when they put their comments, I could tell they don't really understand what the channel is about. I think a lot of people think it's just about Trinidad and Tobago, or it's just about this or just about that. It isn't really. This channel is a wide variety of things. I cover many other countries, many other places that I've been, and I also talk about things that I do. It could be as complicated as coding, which is what I do as a web developer. I originally started to do, and it could be other things like do it yourself, you know, just putting something on your vehicle or creating something or fixing something and so forth. Basically things that I do and interested in. I guess some of these things may be more, I don't want to sound sexist by saying more manly things, but just things that I guess would interest more men, because it's more about vehicles and fixing things and stuff. Men tend to associate with that, so that's the only reason I say that. But all are welcome, men, women and children, to my channel. And if you go to the home page, you'll get a better idea of all the videos I create. Now some people will say you should create more videos. In recording this video, I'm close to about 7,000 videos. So I don't know really how much videos you want me to create. I have many long videos, probably I would say hundreds, if not close to 1,000 or more, and many short videos, and many more medium-sized videos, you know, not too long, not too short, just in between. But yeah, around 7,000. So if you keep saying, you know, you should create more videos, I think you probably haven't seen my library. Make sure to go to the home page to check it out, or if you can, click on the tabs. The tabs would say long videos, shorts, etc., and that will give you an idea. I produce about 6 to 8 videos a day, so you know, there's always something there. Now you start to see a lot more of the signage, and at this point I'm not sure if I knew where I was going, but I decided I would turn here. Sometimes in the video you'll see me making loops. It will give you a better look at Tobago, but it was also because I was admittedly lost, not really sure where I should go. To those of you who are not sure what the Caribbean is like, because you're always accustomed to seeing brochures of beaches and people in grass skirts and coconut huts, well, this is actually the Caribbean. And for people who live in the Caribbean, this is more or less how it looks. For tourists, they always think about beaches, but you know, for people who actually live on the islands, it's not all about the beach only. So that's what the buildings look like. Excuse me. We build with concrete and steel here, which I am very proud of. In North America, they build a lot with wood, which I still don't get. So our buildings here can stand up to earthquakes, hurricanes, and different things. Built to last, I should say. So this would be a part of, I'm not sure if I could call it part of Scarborough, but it's one of the main streets. and we are heading towards what would be like a part of the tourist area or tourist section. However, as you can see, there's not much going on because of Sunday, and I'm kind of like looking for stuff to do and see. Maybe you might be familiar with all these buildings, what they do. I think we passed a community center, a place for the fire services and so forth. I think at this point I was trying to look for the fort, but I wasn't sure how to get there. But usually if I'm lost, I would continue going to see what else I can find. In this case, I came to this area that belonged to the church and used it to turn around. An Anglican church, I believe it is. But in doing so, you get a kind of a good view of Tobago, at least from this vantage point. Maybe you once attended that church or still go there. You can always tell me about it. Here I'm kind of fast forwarding things and you could see the clouds go by. That's another nice thing if you are a person who is serene and calm. These things would delight you, just, you know, sitting down, relaxing, looking at clouds go by, looking at the nature and stuff. Something that interests me. And once I felt I knew where we were in relation to the fort, we continued our journey. By the way, in the vehicle is my family. For sure it was their first time to Tobago. The last time I was in Tobago, I must have been about 6 to 8 years old, somewhere there. So I do recall like going on the glass boats, and I came here as a scout too, with a scout troop. I used to go to Newtown Boys in Port of Spain and was part of a scout group there, and we used to come to Tobago now and again. So that was some of my memories of Tobago. But you know, as a child you see things differently. I imagine for people here, a lot of these things are built up. You can always tell me in the comments area if you see a lot of changes or not. It's a handsome looking church. Built well. Some people think because of the Jesus videos which I started for 2026 that I am Catholic. I'm not Catholic. I don't really identify with any particular religion, but I do identify as being Christian. And I like to talk about Christianity in terms of kindness, love, and doing good to men, rather than technicalities of ceremonies and rituals and stuff. I think people generally focus too much on those things and then end up not showing any kind of kindness or love for their fellow man, which is mind-boggling to me. And that goes for any religion. I mean, you could be Muslim, Hindu, Baha'i, Jewish, whatever. Really is universal that we're supposed to just love one another and do good to one another. We shouldn't be fighting over religion and this type of thing. Religion, in my opinion, is of itself can sometimes do more harm than good. However, spirituality and serenity and calmness of mind and body and spirit, that's something that's different to me than just saying I'm some particular persuasion or whatever. There's a difference between the two. But some people tend to mesh it and call it religion, and that's just not how I think about things. You can always tell me what you think in the comments area. Anyway, this is the fort, and because it's Sunday again, it's pretty clear. I'm sure that probably during the week there are a lot of taxis and cars parked here. So we decided to park and have a look around. In this video, you will not see us walking around. That would be a separate video. But you saw how to get there. And while we were there, as you can see, it rained. And unfortunately, that brought our visit to the fort a bit short. And just as we got back to the vehicle, it stopped. But it did look like it was going to be a really bad downpour. Excuse me. I guess somebody wanted us to be driving around more than walking around, because as we got in the vehicle, it just stopped. But you could see from the banner on that pole just how windy it is. It was quite windy. And in the process of deciding that we would head to Scarborough proper, I decided to kind of just drive around here to see what it looks like. Again, all the streets clean. Even that mini park there, you don't see no trash or anything on it. I like that. It does appear to me that the people in Tobago take a little more pride in their surroundings than the people in Trinidad. Tell me what you think in the comments area. So again, just my observation. There's an evangelical church. Maybe you go there, you can always tell me. I was thinking while I was driving here, you know, if I had to do something in Trinidad, it's quite a task to get maybe on a boat or a plane and then have to go there, and then you have to do what you have to do and then come back. That's quite a hassle for somebody that lives in Tobago. Hopefully at some point in time there could be some better way of communing between Trinidad and Tobago. I did learn at one time there was some talks about putting some sort of highway from Toco to Tobago. I don't know how feasible that is given the depth and the raging waters between the two islands, but I understand there were talks to do that, or at least a better ferry service. It's just, to me, too long and arduous to come to Tobago. It should be easier for the people in Trinidad. And then too, I heard that they were increasing the fee of the airfare on Caribbean Airlines from Trinidad and Tobago and vice versa. As it is, it wasn't too bad. When we came, it was around 30 US, or around 200 TT, thereabouts. But with this increase, and I think the increase, as far as I learned, was supposed to be like 10 times the amount. I mean, how would people survive if they have to pay 10 times the fee to get on a plane? I don't know if it's implemented yet. If those of you who travel between the two islands a lot, you could tell me. Or tell me what you think could be done in the comments area about transportation between the two islands. Or, to throw in a wrench, maybe Tobagonians like it this way, to keep some of those TRINIs from Trinidad coming in and messing up the island and then returning back. I don't know. You could tell me in the comments area. So we took a few back roads there, and I wasn't planning this, this was just me randomly selecting roads and just driving, trying to see if I could see anything of interest in Tobago from driving on the roads. Not that there isn't things, there are lots of things you could see in Tobago, but with our limited time, I just wanted to drive around to get an idea. There are roads that go around the island, not totally, but more or less. Maybe next time I'll have to do that, and hopefully it will be a nice sunny day. So we came here before, and I decided to take the road again, I think, to get to Scarborough. By the way, in releasing this video, the World Cup is coming up. The FIFA football, or soccer if you call it that, World Cup is coming up. Trinidad and Tobago is not playing. We don't have the caliber of team that we did in the days of our first time to the World Cup, FIFA World Cup. And I think a lot of that is due to lack of funding and training and stuff. I think we have the talent, but not much is done to make it happen. I think it can happen. To show you an example of what I mean about where things go wrong with regards to sports, is you could just see by a match that Trinidad and Tobago, a friendly, international friendly, they played against South Korea recently. And in all places, Utah in the USA. Trinidad and Tobago lost 5-0. But they put up a fight in the first half. It was 0-0 when they went to halftime. And if it wasn't for their goalie, they would probably have lost more. But when they come out in the second half, it's like everybody was tired, and they just let the South Koreans score on them. I am no expert or footballer myself. I know everybody tries their best, but I just think we could do more for sports. A lot of our sportsmen who reach climatic events in sports history really did so because of their own perseverance, not really because they got this magnificent help. It seems like the private sector only helps them after they become popular. Again, just my thoughts. You can always tell me in the comments here. Again, I like to be real, not try to paint up things and color things as something that they aren't. So this would be Scarborough proper. By the way, you can also tell me in the comments area who you are vouching for in the World Cup, FIFA World Cup 2026, since Trinidad and Tobago is not playing. You can tell me which country you are supporting. Anyway, so the promenade, if I could call it that, is on the left. And more of the shopping areas for Scarborough is on your right. And again, there are not a lot of people around because it is Sunday, so you see one or two here there. The I Love Tobago that some people like to photograph is there on your left. We wanted to stop, but I don't know. At the time, we didn't think it was feasible to do that there. But we do stop a little ways down, and we decided to take a look at the waterfront there. You can see the sea and the shore to the left. It's pretty nice to be on a place where everywhere you drive there's almost like a beach or seascape. Trinidad should be the same way, but it isn't. And the footage of that I will show in another video, not here, because this one is more about driving. And you see that very wide sidewalk or pavement. I'd call it a broad walk, or if I don't know if it's called a promenade, but I just like that. So people have a lot of place to walk and look and maybe just sit down and watch the beach. Again, this is driving here just to try and capture as much as I could of the area with the limited time I had. You know, you want to capture some of these buildings because I know a lot of you who may have come from Tobago or been to Tobago you want to see what it looks like now, and driving around like this helps you to see that and make a comparison. On the right, I think is some sort of market, and they were having a show of some kind, one or the other. I know it says Autofest on the left there, but I think that was something different. Maybe something happened before, or they were getting ready for it. I think this event here on the left was something different. But there were quite a lot of people inside. And again, while I could have gone inside, I didn't have that kind of time. Really, to capture a place like Tobago, you need to, I would say, at least spend a week. You know, so you're not hustling to go from place to place. There are many beaches in Tobago, and I guess you'd probably want to visit or get a touch of everyone. I believe there are tours, maxi taxi tours, that allow you to go from beach to beach, and they give you a feel of what Tobago waters are like. And I bet that's quite interesting, especially if it's a nice sunny day and not cloudy like it is now. By the way, I'm not used to talking so much. I have some videos where I talked and sometimes had to cut it into 3 parts. I'm actually not much of a talker. You would be surprised if those of you who do hear my videos. While I like to state my opinion or whatever, I don't really do a lot of talking. I like to be myself a lot, ponder about things, read, watch, learn. More of an introvert that way, I guess you can call it. So when I do talk like this for so long, my throat gets dry, I feel the cough, all kinds of stuff goes on. So you please pardon me when that happens. We're heading back into Scarborough proper. You can always tell me if you see a lot of changes, if everything looks new, things look different. Those of you from abroad will notice, yeah, they have KFC, Subway and those things here. I noticed a lot of buildings either under construction or renovation. Not too sure what shopping is like there. You can always tell me what it's like. Are prices significantly higher than they are in Trinidad? I also noticed some modern, very modern looking buildings too, like that one ahead above the red traffic light, or behind it I should say. It looks well constructed. Wonder what kind of building or what that building is used for. Again, driving around here, checking out Tobago. I like that walkover, it's unique. One side steps, the other side is kind of slanted down and using the hill as the finishing steps for the other side. There weren't a lot of cars around, but I did not notice much crazy driving. Probably there is, but I didn't see much of it, if at all. Trinidad is guaranteed crazy driving. I think I just turned on here because I was just looking at random roads to take to see what I would see. And you will be able to tell whether you know, these areas you live or once lived. You can always tell me about it. Just make sure to put the timestamp when you do. Those of you who like to see trucks would like to see that one. This road is very narrow. I was surprised we both were able to pass on it so easily. But even in the back here, you notice something, right? No set of trash everywhere and everything looks cut. Lots of signage in these areas, which is good. Now here I didn't know where I was going or what I would be doing. So I think I was looking for a place to turn around. You could always tell me, you know, what you know about these areas. Those of you not familiar with my channel will know that this is part of what I do. Sometimes I'll go to an area and just take random roads and just start driving. That's one of the unique things about both Trinidad and Tobago. There's so many streets, side streets and roads. You could probably take a couple of days just trying to go through every little road, look and see what it's like, because the roads here are not square. Sometimes they look like they have no real purpose at all, the way it is planned. And so you end up in all kinds of unique places with unique things to see or even do. This road is, this section here to me was kind of dangerous. You could see a mirror across the road because it's hard to tell what's coming from the left, and because up ahead to the right is almost like a blind spot, it's hard to tell what's coming from the right too. So it's a bit tricky. And you know, another ironic thing about me driving here is I actually do not like driving. You may laugh about that, the amount of videos I have of driving. I just record it because, well, you have to drive to get from point A to point B, right? But if it was my choice, I would rather somebody driving. That way I could actually see the area better as I pass by. But when you're driving, you kind of have to concentrate on the road, so it's more difficult. As we wind down here, if you like what I do, you can always support me on JB's Man Cave. You can visit my site. I have a donation button there. It uses PayPal. If you choose to donate through YouTube, know that YouTube takes over half of what you donate, huh? So I don't get all of it. It's better to use the PayPal button. But no problems if you can't. Just subscribe, like, and put your comment. Thanks so much for watching.